Hello and welcome to an operation tutorial of our switcher for our live stream volunteer team. Again, thank you so much for being willing to volunteer in this way. And I just want to say that you're not just operating equipment. Live streaming team. And I just want to say how grateful we are, because what you will be providing is an incredible service to the rest of our congregation. It is something that will promote unity so that everyone can experience the same experience each Sunday morning. So while it can feel really laborious to make sure you have everything plugged into the right spaces, and it'll be hard to lay down all the cabling, what you are providing is a huge service to others. There is a setup guide within all of our equipment that will help you know how to set up all of our equipment for live streaming currently at the pavilion. So you would just follow this checklist and it'll take you straight through. And there's even some little notes for me for even more clarity. But even with this, if you ever have questions or concerns, just ask me if I'm at service or someone else on the team, and I'm sure they'll be able to answer your questions. So this guy is going to be really important to peruse and use when you're setting up the equipment. So next up, let's look at our switcher. So here we are, we have our switcher. And before we kind of acclimate to the face of the switcher, let me just kind of go through some of the connections in the back. So one important thing to know about our switcher is that it does not have a power button or a switch. You can't really turn it on and off. The way that you do that is you connect and disconnect the power cable right here. It spins into place and locks it so that it doesn't get disconnected and turn off by itself. But if you want to turn it off, it's going to feel weird to just unplug it, but that's what you do. Next up, going from right to left, this gray Ethernet cable is what is providing the switcher with internet. So once this is connected, we're going to be able to stream. Next to that is what looks like a little flash drive, and that's basically what it is. It has a USB-C connection so that it can plug in, but what it does is it records whatever is being kind of used into the switcher. So this recording is going to be our backup just in case anything happens with the live stream, which is very likely just because live streaming is just really fragile and it can get disconnected very easily. So this guy is really, really important and lives in the same pocket as this switcher. Next to that, we have an HDMI cord that is connected to the monitor so that I can preview and just monitor all of the cameras. From there, we have some empty spaces where we would have cameras 3 and 4, 2 and 1 plugged in. And so those would connect to the camera and then connect straight into the back. And then lastly, we'll have 2 spots for our microphone. And currently, I just have 1 microphone so that you can hear me. Now, we're going to talk about all of those things first, but let's go back over to the right and look at these 4 buttons here under the stream and record sections. So on our stream, we have 2 buttons. We have on air and off. On air is what you're going to press to go on air and connect to YouTube and go live. Ideally, what you want is this button to just be steady red. If it's ever blinking, it means that connection is getting disrupted or it's not strong enough. And so that's probably bad, which is why we would have our record button turned on to record to disk. When you're recording, it'll be a steady red. If there's issues, it will also blink. And if you're not recording at all, it means this will be green, and green means go. So to stop the stream, you click off. To stop the record, you press stop. So very important buttons right here at the top right. These 2 buttons you won't need to know anything about. So let's move down on here to FTB, which means fade to black. When I press this button, the picture will fade to black. So here, let's go. Now you can see nothing. What you cannot see is that the fade to black button is flashing red. That means that fade to black is enabled, and if you press that button one more time, it'll fade back up to your picture. So let's do that now. And there we go. We're back. Above that is just some buttons you don't really need to know about. Next to the monitoring buttons are transition buttons, which you don't really need to know anything about. Whatever is there is great. Transitions are going to be the things that are used to go from one picture to the others. After that, let's keep moving right, and you'll get all of your camera buttons and how you operate them. These are very simple. You press the button and the program will take you to that section, or to that camera, I mean. Over here we have still and black. They're not going to be ever used, but just know that they're there to not touch. Above each of our buttons for our camera sources will be 6 buttons that control the microphones that may be equipped to a camera. Currently, we have 2 cameras that do have microphones, and so we will start off being off, but you can always turn them on. So if I were to go to camera, let's go camera 1, I will turn on the microphone. When I turn it on, you'll be hearing me through the mic on my lapel and the microphone on the camera. So let me turn off the mic on my lapel so you can get an idea of what it sounds like. So this is just me coming through the microphone on the camera, which might be a little further away. So it'll kind of feel like I'm further away from you. So now let me put the microphone on camera 2 on and see what that sounds like. And so I've turned off the microphone on camera 1, and I'm just getting the microphone from camera 2, and it's even further away from me, so maybe, hopefully, I sound further away. So let me turn that off. And then I've turned microphone 1 back on, and now you can hear me, hopefully more clearly. In our setup, we will have the audio from the soundboard plugging right into microphone 1, and it will be on, and these up and down arrows will control essentially the volume of that microphone. You'll press these buttons when you're looking at the monitor and trying to make sure that the green bar that goes up and down when people are talking or music is happening is not exceeding into the yellow range. And so if it's going into the yellow or even red range, you want to push the arrow down and decrease the volume. If the green bar is not quite reaching the top, like there's just enough space for it to keep coming up, then you would press the up arrow to kind of get more signal into that spot. We have one more thing. It's the picture-in-picture, and this is a very fun feature that we're going to be utilizing at Community West Church. So picture-in-picture essentially will superimpose a picture or a camera source onto another camera source. Because this is a very small switcher, there's only one option. The option is, and it's hardwired in, we can't control it. The option is, when we turn it on, camera 1 will be superimposed on whatever camera source you are on. So I'll press it, and you'll see camera 1 superimposed on camera 1. A fun thing that I can do is then go to camera 2, which is me, and then I'll press the picture-in-picture button again, and now you can see me and see what's going on camera 1. So the way that we use this in a service is we would have the speaker or the worship band, just the stage would be camera 1. And so that's the one at the back of the room, and it would be facing whatever is the most important thing for the service. And since that's in camera 1, as soon as we turn on picture-in-picture, we can go to a different camera source. So in our context, our camera 2 will be the crowd, and then we'll go to camera 2, press picture-in-picture on, and then people will be able to enjoy viewing everyone else in the service, worshiping, listening, or reading along, and the important speaker. Operating the switcher is kind of an art. It's not necessarily a science. Each time that someone is operating the switcher, they're creating just as much as what the worship band is creating, just as much as what the speaker has created. And you're just partnering alongside what's going on and making a new experience for our digital viewers at home. So I say that to say that, if you feel like you missed some camera transition, don't feel bad. You just created a cool experience that's unique to just that live stream. And so now I just want to talk through kind of how you might use some of these features during a service. So one of the things is that we can use fade to black to begin and end the service. And so pretend this is the end of the tutorial video and I say, all right, goodbye, press fade to black, and we have a great transition to ending it. Or say this is the beginning of the service and we just hear the instrumental of the worship bands that is gathering people to their seats. When they actually start singing, we might click fade to black and have a great cue of this is the beginning. Again, our picture-in-picture is going to be another thing that we utilize a lot, and that might be when Very specifically, the worship band is leading us in worship. We might put our camera 2 onto our crowd, then push picture-in-picture on so that they can then see the worship band in a smaller box, but see the rest of the congregation in the bigger box. We might also use this if maybe during the message, Nelson is saying, now let's all read whatever the Bible reading is for the morning. And then you can go over, click on the crowd so that it feels like you're sitting at home, you're reading along with everyone else around you. And then you can put Nelson onto the tiny box so that people can still enjoy watching and hearing Nelson read it with whatever emphasis he has for the morning. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. You might just switch between different cameras at different moments just to give the audience something else to look at. So sometimes I'll have it on the speaker and they're talking, and maybe for 5-7 minutes they just keep going and going, and then I'll just give 30 seconds to the crowd just to see how the crowd is responding to things. Just give them a visual kind of transition from just paying attention to one thing to being able to pay attention to something else. Now I'm going to train back to me and say that we're in a call to worship, and you've got the speaker that is leading, and then you've got the people that are going to be responding. At this point, I might turn on the cameras for the microphone, or the microphones on the camera, so that they pick up the rest of the audience. And so say, all right, we're going to do our call to worship. This is the day that the Lord has made. And then the audience would respond. I'll turn on camera 1 and 2 and say, thanks be to God. So that people sitting at home feel like they're responding and following along with everyone else at the service. And then maybe you'll turn that off when the call to worship is done. Another time that might be good to turn on a microphone on a camera is to catch the audience during the message. Maybe Nelson is making a joke and you want the audible laughter of everyone else in the audience to be heard. And so during the message, you might just leave one of the microphones on for the remainder of the message. So all right, that pretty much is the entirety of our switcher. Again, thank you so much for being willing to be on the live streaming team. I hope that this was helpful. And if you ever have questions, you can always call me, text me, and I can try to help you understand what is going on. All right. So now I'll fade to black and end the video.